Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Great.
Good. Me too. Hello, chat. Hello and welcome. Hi, Tapeworm. Existential Gamer and I were just laughing about how much we love your username, and it makes us laugh every single time that we see it.
Yes,
Hello.
and it's not like it's just funny for no reason. It's just funny. It makes me
It's
giggle.
just funny. Yes, exactly. I love it.
And thank you, Tapeworm, for watching my channel.
Yeah, so cute.
I know. I'm like the worst YouTuber ever. I don't have a schedule. I just upload whenever I feel like it. But
Me neither.
yeah.
I never post videos anymore. I only stream.
Yeah, and like I don't even have a script. I just say whatever word vomit comes out.
Yep. That's
Yep.
how I do it.
But you know what?
This is what you get.
This is it.
Yes. Hello, Ice Goddess. Hi, 15th Jessica. Hello, Planet Lex. That name seems new to me. Welcome.
Yeah, me too. We like lurkers.
Hi. Yes, hello. We love newcomers and lurkers. Hi, Expired Milk. Hi. Green Emerald. Hello.
Green
Oh my
Emerald,
goodness.
Yeah,
So
everybody coming out for the party.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So, oh well, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. So yeah, there's this article posted in the New York Times. I think it was yesterday. Oh, maybe last week, November 26th, that I thought was interesting.
Still fresh.
Yeah, still fresh. I skimmed it barely, but actually what had happened is I saw J.K. Rowling tweeted about it, and I was like, oh, let me look at this. And so I thought we could look at the article, and then we'll look at what J.K. Rowling had to say about it as well. And then we will, I know, big time. And then we'll do what we always do, see wherever the chat takes us after that. Sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
It's always a good time.
Always. Yes, and I put on the screen so everyone knows it's Existential Gamer here with me.
Yes.
Okay, let's share the screen. And then I have to adjust my screen so I can also see what I'm doing. Okay. Looks okay?
Looks good to me, but like I always say, I'm on laptop, so any mobile peeps, let us know if it's tiny.
Oh, GLaDOS 9000, also a new name. Hello and welcome.
Hey, nice reference.
I don't know it, do you? Well, obviously you do.
It's from Portal. It's from a video game.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know video games.
Well, I have it in my name, so.
Yeah, fair.
So it's a requirement for me, but I'm a giant geek.
That's allowed.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Herman, thank you.
Okay. Ooh, everybody's a fan.
I know, right? Anyone who plays games is going to be a fan of that name. It's just
good. That's great. Well, I'm happy to be included. Okay, so transgender activists question the movement's confrontational approach. Facing diminishing public support, some activists say all or nothing tactics are not working. We have to make it okay for someone to change their minds. So right off the bat, what do you think about that opening statement?
Well, I think the first thought is it's about damn time, first of all. Second, there's two separate problems. It's that on the first problem is, on the one hand, like doctors and people generally are not allowed to question the dogma.
Mm-hmm.
And even online, this isn't really the case lately. I've been noticing a lot more pushback online and posts staying up and videos staying up that are critical. Whereas a few years ago, they'd get taken down immediately, right?
Yeah.
Or like the person would just get banned or whatever. So like there was this like no debate, we're just going to ban you, no talking against the doctrine, no nothing. So there's that side of it. And then there's also the disgusting like cult antics of how they treat detransitioners. So it's like it's kind of the same, like different sides of the same coin, but they're different issues. And then the detransitioners are basically discarded, told they were never really trans. Like
yeah,
and hated and dogpiled online and stuff like that. So, yeah, anything that can allow critical thinking about this subject is good in my book. This is very hopeful for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, me too.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it is about D-trans and D-sisters, tapewormen. But I hope, now I don't know, we're gonna read it, but I hope that they go into the whole, like, you can't debate, you can't put anything critical, no studies that are critical of this, no
Yeah.
videos, no nothing. I hope they go into that whole thing too, because it's a big problem.
Yeah. Detransitioners are the heretics. Yes.
Yeah. The religion hates the apostates more than the non-believers.
You're so brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you. Gosh.
You're welcome. Okay. So we've got Rodrigo Heng-Lettinen, Executive Director of Advocates for Transgender Equality, said activists should see benefits in treating skeptics less like enemies and more like future allies. Okay.
Well, I think if he's going, well, is that a he? I don't know. It's hard.
I'm pretty sure it's a female.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing, but yeah, I think if anyone's going into this with the mindset that anyone critical is going to be an ally, which means you're going to support and want this stuff,
Or
I
change
think
your
that
minds.
change your mind. Yeah, it's like when Christians are like, well, let's love the non-believers and then maybe they'll convert, but what if they don't convert? Then what?
Yeah.
Unlikely, right? I'm unlikely to convert to the cult of transgenderism.
Yeah, same.
So
most of us have already been there and we left it behind. So we're not going back.
Exactly. And the other thing is, people like us, we're not your enemies, dude. You're the ones that make everyone your enemy. You know, maybe with the exception of some really conservative, like, ew, anti-trans, you know, the trans critical, not critical of anything else people, but just feminists and normal people questioning it, we're not your enemy.
Right, exactly. All right, let's get into it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Life sucks. Like, it's never enough. And yeah, that's a big issue. Okay.
To get on the wrong side of transgender activists is often to endure their unsparing criticism. After a Democratic congressman defended parents who expressed concern about transgender athletes competing against their young daughters, a local party official and ally compared him to a Nazi cooperator, and a group called Neighbors Against Hate organized a protest outside his office. Right, like you can't even say like, I don't know if boys should be in girls' sports without being called a Nazi.
Yeah, that's their go-to tactic.
Yeah.
They scream about genocide. They throw the word Nazi around. Like, those words have meanings.
Yeah, and when you toss them around so willy-nilly like that, like it diminishes the heaviness of what it means to be a Nazi.
Yes, and over time, it loses its effectiveness, as we're seeing now, because it's an emotional manipulation tactic. It's a bullying tactic. It's the same as people like, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
You hear that enough times, and eventually the person's like, you know what? You're not going to do it. You know, call me a Nazi. I don't care. Tell me you're going to kill you. Like, this is just manipulation. It's bullshit.
Yeah. It's like, I know what's real in my heart, and I am not a Nazi. So
yeah, and you're bluffing because you want to bully and manipulate people. It's not real.
Yeah.
They're just throwing out the most emotionally charged words they can possibly think of to try to get everyone else to gang up on this person. And those tactics are really not working these days because I think people are just sick of it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so when J.K. Rowling said that denying any relationship between sex and biology was deeply misogynistic and regressive, a prominent LGBTQ group accused her of betraying real feminism. A few angry critics posted videos of themselves burning her books.
Just like a Christian fundamentalist.
Right. And with the context of J.K. Rowling, I mean, in the early 2000s, the Christian fundamentalists burned her books or wouldn't permit them because of witchcraft. And now the same thing is happening, but from the opposite side, burning her books for Well, still being a witch.
Wrong thing.
Yeah, wrong thing. Exactly. So when the Biden administration convened a call with LGBTQ allies last year to discuss new limits on the participation of transgender student athletes, one activist fumed on the call that the administration would be complicit in genocide of transgender youth, according to two people with the knowledge of the incident. Again,
Spare me.
that word is very intense. It has a specific meaning, and not letting boys win trophies in female sports is not even remotely even at all close to what genocide is.
It's not.
It's not even hateful, let alone genocide. God.
Well, you know, it's really funny because I see that. So, you know how every holiday season, at least in America, I don't know about Canada, but American Christians will go on about how persecuted they are and how nobody can say Merry Christmas anymore and how Christians are the most hated minority in the whole country. It reminds me of that. That's why this is such like a religion to me.
You can only cry wolf so many times.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the persecution complex is insane. And it's the same thing though. Like it's that office meme of like this, it's the same picture, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
same picture. Yeah, exactly.
Yelling genocide and then Christian fundamentalists being like, I can't even say Merry Christmas at all without people like coming after me. Like
yes,
where?
Yeah, no one is stopping you.
Yeah. Seriously.
Now some activists say it's time to rethink and recalibrate their confrontational ways and are pushing back against the more all or nothing voices in their coalition. We have to make it okay for someone to change their minds, said Rodrigo Henlettinen, Executive Director of Advocates for Transgender Equality. We cannot vilify them for not being on our side. No one wants to join that team. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't really care how nice they are. I'm still not joining.
Still not joining the team.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yes.
Been there, felt the cognitive dissonance, peaced out.
Yeah. They cite tactics, especially on social media, that become routine for devoted backers of the movement. Attempts to police language, such as excising the words male and female from discussions of pregnancy and abortion, decrying the misidentification of a transgender person as violence, insisting that everyone declare whether they prefer to be referred to as he, she, or other pronouns. Some LGBTQ activists have put pressure on liberal candidates for office to take positions that align with theirs, which can backfire. Republicans pummeled Vice President Kamala Harris in ads this year over the answers she gave on a 2019 questionnaire from the American Civil Liberties Union, one of the groups that has been active in the transgender cause. The questionnaire asked Ms. Harris to commit to ensuring that transgender people in federal custody, including those in prison and immigration detention, could receive gender transition surgery.
Ugh.
Like, is that... I don't want my tax dollars going to that.
How about we spend our tax dollars on the millions of uninsured Americans in this country that don't get basic health care, you know?
Not on surgically validating a weirdo's fetish who's in prison.
Right. That's such a losing. I can't even believe that a politician uttered it because that's like a campaign death sentence right there.
Yeah.
When you've got a for-profit system like America and you've got people getting bankrupt for having cancer, like the fact that this kind of stuff can be covered by the government is just going to enrage your everyday average.
Yes. Especially when you consider there was like a study or something posted recently that said like something like between 70 and 90% of trans identifying inmates are in prison for crimes of a sexual nature.
Of course.
And
they purposely quote unquote transition to gain access to the women's prison. So
exactly.
I like how everybody's pretending like they're stupid. Like people in the law enforcement sphere and like cops, judges, the people working in prisons, like they know what these people are like. They know what criminals are like, and they still like kowtow to it. I don't understand. Mm-hmm. Like these are offenders.
Yes. And I mean, yes, like offenders deserve health care as every human does, but a cosmetic surgery to validate a sexual fetish is not that.
Yeah, this isn't it's not health care. Sorry, it's not. Like, it's totally optional. And a lot of these guys don't even want it because they want to maintain their male bodies and their sex drive. So they don't want to go on any of that anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mr. Hang Lettinen, 38, who grew up in a prominent Republican family in Florida and came out to them as transgender after college, said that as painful as Mr. Trump's election may be for transgender people, their movement should see the benefit in treating skeptics less like enemies and more like future allies. No one wants to feel stupid or condescended to, Mr. Hang Lettinen said. Okay, here's the thing. I don't feel stupid or condescended to when TRAs freak out.
No.
That's missing the mark. Like, it's missing the mark.
It is. I feel like they're just failing to emotionally bully me. That's all.
Yeah.
Because, like, you say whatever you want. Nothing you say is true. So you're just like, it's like a child having a tantrum. Really.
Exactly. Okay, so demonstrators marched in Austin, Texas in 2022 to protest statements made by Governor Greg Abbott equating transition care for minors with child abuse. I mean,
it is.
Like, I always go back to the analogy of, like, prescribing liposuction for anorexics. Like, there are anorexic children. Would you prescribe liposuction to them? No, that would be child abuse.
Right.
Like, that's the same thing. Oy.
Hey, Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Yeah, okay. And you're basically experimenting on kids and ruining their future adult bodies with untested. Like, I mean, we had girls taking Lupron, like in the 90s and 2000s for precocious puberty.
Yeah.
And it's coming out that Lupron is like, it causes osteoporosis.
Yeah,
and really
seriously. Gonna fuck
you.
Like,
you can have, young women in their 20s confined to a wheelchair because the drug fucked them up, right? But yet prescribe that medication under the banner of trans affirmation, and it's totally fine. Like, we can't let ideology cloud medical science.
Agreed. I'm just posting in the chat. If I could type, that would help. Thank you, Lee, for the $2 super chat. And I'm just posting also in the chat, since today is Giving Tuesday, any super chats I'm going to donate back to Vancouver Rape Relief. And I'll match them up to $25.
Ooh.
Okay. The soul searching comes at a time when Democrats are engaging in a broader discussion of how their efforts to advance social and racial justice in recent years may have appeared to be too judgmental and helped contribute to the perception that their party had lost its understanding of the problems Americans want politicians to prioritize.
Yeah, you think?
Right? Republicans spent tens of millions of dollars on ads that accused Democrats of wokeness and capitalized on the unfamiliarity most Americans have with transgender people's lives, using hyperbole and distortions that often created false impressions of schoolhouse indoctrination and locker rooms full of predators. I don't think, like, I'm not going to bat for Republicans, but I don't think false impressions of schoolhouse indoctrination is too far off the mark. And locker rooms full of predators. Okay, maybe not full of predators, but like one is too many.
One is too many. And when you have a batshit insane idea like self-ID, there's no way to question some dude just strolling into the women's locker room with like a half chubby. It's like, you can't.
I don't think the average person's concern about this is like
no, it's not unwarranted.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Overblown. I don't think it is either.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, lots in the chat. Thank you, all of you, for your insight, but I have to catch up here. The amount of people my age and younger who talk like their bodies are a game of operation. They can just remove and change things without any consequences is disturbing. Sci-fi without the tech. Yeah, they can just customize what they want. Not to mention, gender dysphoria isn't naturally occurring, just like eating disorders. Something triggers it. Wouldn't it make more sense to do therapy to get to the root of the problem? Yes, extremely.
But they call you thinking they need therapy, they call that
Transphobic. That used to be required. Like it used to be like you had to be under the care of a psychiatric professional for 2 years before you could be considered for medical transition.
Right, because they want to rule out.
Yeah, that it's something else.
Right.
And they want to also rule in that you are really genuinely for real serious about this.
Right. Yeah.
But now you can literally walk into Planned Parenthood today, and any female in this chat could walk out of Planned Parenthood today with a prescription for testosterone. Like within 20 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah. And I think it's insane that women's contraceptives and abortions under attack, but this is handed out like candy.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
You're damaging your body by taking wrong sex hormones.
Extremely. LGBTQ activists are confronting a political landscape that has grown more hostile. More than 24 states now limit access to transition medical treatment. Last week, House Republicans vowed to bar transgender women, so men, from using women's restrooms in the Capitol, a not-so-subtle affront to Sarah McBride of Delaware, who this month became the first transgender person elected to Congress. He's a man, and he can use the man's bathroom.
Yeah, or use the single family stall or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and when it comes to like bathrooms and stuff, like I have literally no problem with a all-gender space, provided that men's and women's are available as well.
I agree.
I am totally fine if people want to use the all gender space or all sex space. Yeah. Please do.
Yeah.
But I want to use the women's restroom, and I want only women in there.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to be more like, well, if some guy who looked like Blair White walked in, I don't think I'd have a problem. Or if they were gay, like, the gay ones, I don't have a problem. But at this point, I'm like, no, I do. Because you give an inch and they take a mile, and they're like, nope. Steve, who has a full beard and just woke up this morning and says, I think I'm going to identify as a woman and look at boobies.
Yeah.
Like, he is just as valid to this philosophy. Like, there's no breaks on it.
Yeah.
The logical conclusion of it is that you can't question it.
Right. Life Sucks had a comment perfect for this. She wrote, all the homosexual transsexuals are like, only let the real trans women in. And it's like, how is that even determined? Exactly.
Well, they got rid of any measure of they call it gatekeeping, but that's what they
safeguarding,
like any metric with which they judge your transness or whatever, they got rid of it because it's transphobic. So because there's literally no way to quantify it, I'm done with like being like, oh well, if it's like a real, if Buck Angel wanted to use the men's room, whatever. Now I'm just like, no, use the single occupancy. Okay, just stop the madness. Yeah. Well,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Life sucks with the women that say they're okay with men in the bathrooms. I think those women are naive and probably haven't had to deal with like harassers and assaulters in a bathroom. Like, okay, you don't speak for everybody though.
Yeah. And the thing too is like when people say things like, well, they just want to pee, or like it's not such a big deal, like you're just going in and getting out. Like it doesn't matter. Like that space is for women. It doesn't matter if you're just peeing. Like there's, a 12-year-old girl who's getting her period for the first time in there and feeling vulnerable, or like there's mothers changing their babies' diapers. Like, there's all kinds of reasons that women want privacy and dignity in the bathroom. And that's answer enough to keep men out.
Yeah. I used to be like, oh, well, them peeing isn't a big ask, right? Like back in the day. But once you see like the screenshots of these
my God,
taking pictures and having their boners out and
fishing stuff out of the feminine hygiene disposal bins.
Yeah. Like, and people would probably be like, well, that's just a couple of perverts. Well, that's more than enough. Okay. Get out.
Yeah. One is too many.
When you post it on Twitter, like almost like gloating because they're invading and they get off on invading the space and they're like, oh,
Ugh.
I'm in your space.
Exactly.
Here's my my erection or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Like, no is a complete sentence. No.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, some of you don't just want to pee. So
Yeah,
get out.
exactly. Exactly. So Miss McBride, who is really Mr. McBride,
Mm-hmm.
has insisted that she is a voice for all her constituents and not a spokesperson for the movement. Said that she would follow house rules even if she disagreed with them. It is that kind of targeting from conservatives, which transgender people say is deeply personal and far too common, that makes many activists wary of relying on a gentler, more traditional political approach. Some of them saw avoidance in McBride's matter-of-fact response and accused him of capitulating to the right. Like, capitulating to the right is one of these dudes being somewhat decently respectful to women. That's capitulating to the right.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Like, fuck you. No.
Yeah. If they seem impatient, activists say it's because they are. What we're facing is fundamental unfairness, and that is not coming from people who are interested in compromise and open debate, said Gillian Brandstetter, a communication strategist with the ACLU who works on transgender advocacy. These are people who are threatened by trans people's very existence, and more importantly, they're trying to scapegoat us. No, men. The thing is they always say transgender people, trans people. Trans men are not doing this shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because
It's
they're female.
males. It's trans women. Like,
right.
Be
Also,
for real. Be so for real.
Exactly. Also, they've shown us that the whole movement has shown us that they will not clean up their shit. They will not stand against people abusing it. They won't. They will demand that you call a murderer and a rapist by their preferred pronouns.
Yeah.
They ignore like the copious amounts of online evidence of like AGPs fetishizing and posting inappropriate pictures, and they ignore like the pedo adjacent crap online. You can't trust these people to, even if people like you and me wanted to be like, all right, well, we'll meet you halfway, but you got to clean up your shit.
Yeah, they
Call
would
out.
never.
They won't.
No.
And that's where my resistance comes in. It's like, you've shown you can't be trusted.
Yeah.
The ideology comes before people's lives and safety for these people.
Yep.
And just like a cult, it's all about that. It's not about safety or dignity or anything like that.
Extremely. Lee says she's so tired about hearing about him. There's nothing special about a white man being elected to Congress.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a great point. Oh, go ahead.
More stolen valor again.
Yeah. Yeah. Life Sucks has a great point here. If it was only about being able to use the bathroom safely, they'd fight for third spaces.
And people tried giving them third spaces.
That's not enough. They want into the women's room.
Right. And yeah, they claimed because it was, it's trans. You're saying we're not real women, it's transphobic, but the real reason is they wanted access to that space for the bad actors among them. I'm not saying literally every single one is going to do it, but enough do, and they don't do shit about it.
Exactly. Lily says believing that women have a right to privacy is not conservatism, right? Thinking that men should be entitled to women's private spaces is the more right-wing take, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's true.
They also claim that any trans woman that commits sex crimes are just cis men pretending to be trans women. Right, like no true Scotsman.
Yeah, well, that would be believable if there was a metric by which to judge someone's true transness, which they call transphobic and they deny. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say anyone who says they're trans is trans, you bigot. You can't say anything. He can look like a total dude, and if he says he's a woman, you better believe him. And then you can't say on the other side of your mouth, oh, well, that's just a cis man LARPing as a woman. Like, those two thoughts are not congruent with each other.
Yeah. The ACLU noted in a statement, for instance, that its 2019 questionnaire asked 19 questions on a range of subjects because voters needed to be able to draw meaningful policy distinctions among the crowded field. Democrats are experiencing their own disillusionment with the national conversation over transgender rights, a debate that they say can sound dogmatic and intolerant. You think?
Yeah.
Here we are calling Republicans weird, and we're the party that makes people put pronouns in their email signature, said Representative Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, a Democrat who ignited fury and protest at his office after he expressed concern that transgender athletes could have an unfair advantage or hurt other athletes. Again, let's use real clear language here that transgender identifying males could have an unfair advantage or hurt women.
Right. Yeah, again.
Ain't no trans man
no.
giving a concussion to a male athlete. Like,
right. Again, this is another example of what we talked about in
passive voice.
Passive voice, like the obfuscation of the real problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even so, he added, Democrats, and most Americans for that matter, still want to protect transgender people from discrimination. I mean, same. Like, I believe that people who identify as trans have a right to live a life free of violence and harassment. They have a right to a safe housing, employment, education. Like, as all humans do. I just don't believe that men are women. Or that they're entitled to things that are for women. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, and there isn't really any rights that everyone else has that they don't have.
Exactly. They have all the human rights that we all do. And also the thing, and despite believing all of that stuff, like the right to housing and education and employment and free from violence and discrimination, blah, 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 that's not enough for them. You have to go the whole way. You have to believe the lie too. And if you don't, well, then all of the rest of the good stuff you believe doesn't matter.
Right. You're evil. You're a Nazi. You're a TERF.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, doesn't matter anything. Also, like you said, housing, but if a woman is looking for a female roommate, she should be able to have a female roommate.
Of course, yes.
Without getting dogpiled on that she's phobic or whatever.
Great point from Pearl. A right to live is not a right to do whatever you'd like. Privacy is also a right.
Exactly. And like the nature of these people is that there can be 100 spaces open to them. Mm-hmm. And there can be one space where it's female only and women don't want men in there, and they'll want that one space.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 100 is not enough. They want 101.
Mm-hmm. Until they're all eradicated. That's the goal.
Exactly.
They did it on the apps. Like they do it on social media. Like any group you make, you better be able to include trans women, which are men.
Yep.
I mean, you've talked with like Rusty and company about the dire state of the lesbian dating apps.
Yeah, it's all men.
It's all men.
Yep.
It's just men all the way down.
Lesbians are not on lesbian dating apps. Having reasonable restrictions for safety and competitive fairness in sports seems like, well, it's very empirically a majority opinion, Mr. Moulton said. But should we take civil rights away from trans people so they can just get fired for being who they are? No. I mean, I agree with that. Transgender.
What do they mean by civil rights?
I suppose like the right to change your name or to identify in a way that, is different from your birth sex.
But he's juxtaposing it with fairness in sports. It's not a civil right to be able to fracture the skull of a girl in high school because you're a boy on that team.
No, I think he agrees with that. Having reasonable restrictions for safety seems like very empirically a majority opinion.
But should we take civil rights away, which basically means if we prevent boys from playing with girls, we're taking their rights away. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. Like, that's nothing to do with civil rights. It's about reality. It's about physical reality.
Yeah. So transgender rights were not top of mind for most voters on Election Day. According to Gallup, voters who were asked how important each of 22 national issues were in their voting decisions ranked transgender rights lowest. The public does not appear to be growing more empathetic to the transgender cause. Fewer Americans today than 2 years ago say they support some of the rights that LGBTQ activists have pushed for, like allowing children to undergo gender transition treatment, according to the Public Religion Research Institute. Also, I want to point out LGBTQ activists. Like, no, LGBTQ activists have not pushed for this shit. T and Q activists have.
Yep.
Leave the rest of us out of this stuff.
The lumping together of both those things is really distressing to me, because I feel like when all this explodes, gay people and lesbians are going to be in the crosshairs too.
Yep. Multiple recent polls have found that a considerable majority of Americans believe advocacy for transgender rights has gone too far. Well,
yeah.
This trend pains many longtime LGBTQ activists, many of whom worked on the decades-long campaign to win widespread acceptance for gay and lesbian people.
Different issues.
Yeah. But we get lumped in with all that, and the backlash that people feel about the trans shit comes back to us too.
It's so annoying because, like, a lot of normie people think trans people are just like extra gay.
Right.
And that's not what they're totally different. It's nothing to do with gay people at all.
Yeah, exactly. In interviews, some activists stressed that it was important to see the big picture. The LGBTQ movement is working through a difficult pivot, trying to apply lessons from the same-sex marriage campaign to the newer fight for transgender equality. Evan Wolfson, founder of Freedom to Marry. Evan Wolfson, founder of the pro-same-sex marriage group Freedom to Marry, said he and other activists learned that a key to victory in the long term was accepting small, less rewarding gains at first, like civil unions. We always said we're not going to ask for civil unions, but we'll take it as a mechanism to move people along, Mr. Wolfson said. He received criticism from all sides, with some gay rights activists dismissing civil unions as empty half measures, and many Democrats blaming electoral losses on the perception that the party was pushing same-sex marriage on a reluctant country. Eventually, the debate over legalizing civil unions in the 1990s evolved into dialogue over full marriage rights by the 2000s, culminating in the next decade with a Supreme Court decision establishing same-sex marriage as a constitutional right. The discussion about transgender rights is still a relatively new one and a growing one, Mr. Wolfson said. That conversation takes time. Yeah, and if you think about like the, I don't know, quote unquote, progress that the trans movement has made in the last 5 years, it's astronomical compared to how long it has taken for gay rights.
Oh, absolutely. I made that observation years ago. Like, why is this so, like, why is it spreading like wildfire? And then you have people being like, well, you know, there's billionaires funding this movement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in tech are in the trans movement. So they control whoever controls the tech controls the world, right? In this day and age. Mm-hmm. Also, the major difference between gay people and transgender people is that a gay or lesbian person does not need the validation of other people or access to what they have to have of their own. You know, like you sit like you're a lesbian, you simply are one. You don't need me to validate you and call you certain things and refer to you a certain way. And you marrying a woman is not going to affect another marriage whatsoever. It's just you living their life. But the way the trans movement works is they want outside forces to validate them. Their quote unquote rights depend on like obliterating female spaces, especially. You know, I mean, you see it in the freaking medical literature where we're uterus havers and whatnot. And then the men's prostate cancer pamphlets still says men on it.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? Like, it's dependent on an external locus of control that simply being gay or lesbian does not depend on. The only thing that you needed was just the ability to get married like any other person.
Yep.
It has nothing to do. You're not going to affect like Bob and Debbie's marriage down the street if you marry your wife. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
You're not even asking Bob and Debbie to like affirm you.
Right. You don't have to come to the wedding.
Right. Like you know, you don't even have to approve, whatever. It doesn't affect, like you just want the
Yeah.
freedom to live your life the best way you can in the most full way that any other person would, but that's not how the trans movement operates.
Right.
At
They
least
want everyone to bow and pretend
yeah.
the emperor has the most beautiful clothes.
Yes, and like we're seeing in this article, if you don't do that, you're a Nazi, and these tactics are just really tiring everyone out, pissing everyone off.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Plot twist. I'm marrying Debbie.
Rescue Debbie, Operation
Right.
Free Debbie.
So, Mara Kiesling, an activist who founded the National Center for Transgender Equality in 2002, remembered an adage she used 20 years ago about legislative priorities. You can't say, don't fire them until you can say, don't kill them, meaning that advocates should focus first on measures that reinforce the fundamental humanity of transgender people, such as hate crime protections. Then, she said, you can push more effectively for laws about discrimination. I mean, between the lines, like, obviously don't kill people, oh my God. But between the lines, it kind of reads like she's saying, like, you got to start small, but then we're going to weasel our way in for the big stuff. Like,
Yeah, also, I find it really disingenuous because other than people who work in highly dangerous fields like prostitution, the murder rate, like, and I don't have the statistics, but I'm pretty sure I read that the number of trans murderers is higher than the number of victims.
of course, yes.
Right. Which it's
Extremely.
not, especially when you consider like a lot of the, you know, the Tims, the male trans people are white, usually middle class.
Mhm.
It's a very like first world thing to be
Yeah.
transgender. It's very consumerist. Like you have to have money
Yep.
to fully transition. It, you know, I know they're
Yeah.
trying to make it so that you don't, but for now, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I doubt anyone's killing anyone who's trans just because they're trans. Like, come on.
Yeah. People act like there's like just people the street hunting trans identifying
Yeah.
people for sport. It's like that is not happening. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
The gunning down of Black people in this country is far more concerning and has actual statistics backing it.
Yes, my
It's an
God.
actual problem. Like nobody's going around popping a cap and like trans people.
No.
Mm-mm.
So Ms. Kiesling said too many activists today are distracted by counterproductive debates, boycotting Ms. Rowling's Harry Potter series, for example, and insisting that there are no reasonable objections to allowing transgender women into high-level sports. Reasonable. Ms. Keeling noted that LGBTQ activists lost credibility with many Americans once they started accusing people of bigotry over sports. We looked unreasonable, she said. Wow.
Yeah, imagine that.
We should be talking about the 7-year-old who just wants to play soccer with her friends.
But it was never about the 7-year-old wanting to play
Right.
soccer with her friends.
Right. I
Never.
mean,
Nobody has a problem with that.
young children's sports are often co-ed. I mean,
Yeah.
mine were until I was like 14. Like, no,
Right.
that's not a big deal. We're talking about like when puberty hits and
Mhm.
boys and men have a significant physical advantage over female bodies.
Right.
No one
That's what
cares
we're
about the
talking.
7-year-old.
No, nobody does.
No. Miss Kiesling insists she is hardly naive about the animosity from the right. It has been directed at her personally. Her image was used in one of the Trump campaign ads that attacked Democrats over transgender rights this year. Who is Miss Kiesling?
I'm thinking
What's
this
her?
is a dude.
Of course, it has to be, right?
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, expired milk. That yes, a lot of these guys are not only do they tend to be white and middle class, but a lot of them have very masculine job histories. They have families, you know.
Yeah. This is Mara Kiesling. So, yes, a male.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the article.
Yeah, Sonia asks, I have heard that I have to do more reading on it, but I have heard that boys, even baby boys and young boys, do have an advantage. It's just not as marked as once puberty hits. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I'm willing to let 7-year-olds play co-ed. They're not going to put the girls in the hospital at that age, even if they have an advantage. But like once you get into middle and high school, like you can't be allowing boys on the field with girls. You're going to get skull fractures and girls being knocked unconscious. Like it's no.
And that's on like the serious end of, like the very serious end of things, but on the like still important but less like physically serious, like so many teenage girls are losing out on scholarships and stuff because of they're not winning the competitive positions needed to achieve those scholarships because they're going to boys.
Right.
Like there's all kinds of reasons that it's just not acceptable.
Yeah, or there'll be like one trans male on the team and he'll win every single medal, leaving his teammates in the dust. Like, how fair is that?
Yeah. So Mr. Hang Letnan of Advocates for Transgender Equality said he agreed that the movement needed a more persuasive message on sports. School districts and athletic associations, he said, have long been dealing with the issue of transgender athletes. The matter should be left to them and not to the whims of Republican legislators, he added. So Leah Thomas, transgender athlete, swims in a meet against Harvard. Yeah, Leah, is right here.
Yeah. Wasn't he another one that kept like sucking up all the first places and accolades on his team was just basically like huddled behind him doing nothing?
Yes. Also, so Riley Gaines, who is a women's rights activist for women in sports, was on the same team with Leah. I think his name is actually William. Anyway, and she spoke about this one particular meet where she and Leah Thomas literally tied, finished exactly the same time, like down to the 10th of a second. And the NCAA said, "Oh, we only have one trophy. Oh no!" And they said, "Well, we're going to give it to Leah." Yeah. And it's like, ugh, gross.
Right. I've often you mentioned like why did trans catch on way more than gay rights or even feminism, really, if you think about it. And I do think it's because it's a men's movement.
Yeah.
Primarily. Like I know we've got a lot of teenage girls who want to be non-binary or transition but they don't really have the power. Like a lot of the most prominent in the media, the most prominent trans people are always men.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, look at this picture of Leah Thomas. Next.
Yeah. It's like fucking 6'7". What the hell?
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah.
He's huge. It's ridiculous. And also, Riley Gaines has spoken at length about him walking around naked and erect in the change room.
Yeah, unbelievable. And you can't call it out. You can't say anything.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah, Sonia, I think so too. I mean, it's funded by billionaires.
Yep.
It's a men's movement. Tech is huge with trans, and a lot of those it's male dominated. The incel to trans pipeline is real. So then you've got a lot of these guys with like men's rights activists or incel ideologies that just poured it on over to trans, and they get to basically take from women and one up women and stick it to feminists or whatever. I mean, it's all part of the same tapestry.
Yeah. Don't forget his teammates were encouraged to go to therapy if they had an issue with him being on the team.
Yeah. The favoritism, like the ball favoritism of it.
Yeah, it's gross.
Because he's a very special boy. Like we have to cater to him. The most special.
I don't think we are best served by imposing a one-size-fits-all solution, she said, adding that sweeping and crude bans on transgender athletes are just that. Nobody is trying to ban transgender athletes. Like, that's, again, the language. They use this exaggerated emotional language about banning trans people from sports. No one is trying to do that.
No.
Trans people are absolutely welcome to participate in sports according to their sex.
Right.
In a co-ed league, or in a league or in a category that's for trans people.
Right. Again, it's the third space option,
Exactly.
right? But they don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want the trans league.
Yeah, exactly. Women just need a different platform to perform sports. Trans can have their own league. Exactly. Hello, Alabaster. Welcome. That's a new name here. Okay. Advocates said their research has found that the most effective messaging takes into account that most Americans do not know a lot about life as a transgender person and reinforce the basic idea that transgender people want what everyone else wants: fairness, respect, and love. No, they don't.
They don't, first of all, and second of all, you can lobby for fairness, but you can't make people respect and love you.
Right.
I find that highly dysfunctional. Like, there's coding things into law and making things fair in society has nothing to do with the emotion of love.
Right.
This kind of smacks of the whole, like, like how trans dudes will go on lesbian dating sites and be like, you need to date me or you're a genital fetishist. Like, they want quote unquote love, right? They want to force people to love them. And then respect, I mean, respect is really earned. Respect is on a case by case basis.
Yes.
You know, you can respect someone's humanity like as a baseline, but like respect and love is not something you can codify into law. It's not something you can make anybody do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is they've been like the topic du jour, the darlings for years now. And it's only just recently that people are starting to question and turn against the whole thing, right? And like,
yeah. Great point from Lily. I hate how these TRAs try to advertise themselves as human rights activists. Being a man trying to bulldoze female athletes is not the same thing as being excluded due to race or sexual orientation. Yeah,
yes.
I've also heard, like, when it came to Leah Thomas, people were comparing it to like the Jim Crow laws of like not allowing Black people in swimming pools. And it's like, that is not the same thing. Like,
nobody's saying you can't go in a swimming pool. You just
right.
can't be on the
But like trying
female
to
team.
equate it as if like the racism of those laws is even remotely comparable to not allowing men to decimate women. Like, get real.
Not even the same universe.
Yeah. Ooh, good. Life sucks. These people don't care about respecting anyone. They don't care about fairness, and the only love they have is for themselves, because most of them are raging narcissists.
Yeah,
Good
I mean,
one.
if anybody they disagree with, falls into misfortune, they basically dance on their grave, like what happened with Magdalene after she died.
Oh,
Like,
I know.
like,
Sickening.
oh,
Yeah, I
nice
saw lots
love.
of people saying shit like "Ding dong, the witch is dead." It's like,
Yeah,
that's so fucking sick.
yeah, it is. But and they'll dox people. They'll post questionable material on certain in certain places to get people banned. The tactics are vicious. There's no respect or love on their end. I'm not saying that we're entitled to that. Nobody is entitled to it, but they don't play by the same rules they demand everybody else play by.
Agreed. Yep. So it's our job to break the misinformation down and to say compassionately, "It's perfectly understandable that you have questions," Mr. Hanglettinen said. Put more directly, he added, "that's not yelling at someone." Okay. Let's look at some of the comments.
Yeah.
Maybe. Why won't it? Oh, because this is not the actual New York Times. This is the web archive.
Oh.
I'm like, why won't it click?
Dang,
I have to go to the actual. No, I can go to the actual article.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I know. Leave me alone. Okay, read comments. So, reader picks. It's about time someone said this out loud. 3,000 recommends.
Yeah. People are sick of it.
Yeah. Thanks for helping create this much needed conversation. I'm certainly not anti-trans in any way, but the creation of so much new vocabulary around this and the insistence that people use it or be declared a bigot has badly backfired.
Mm-hmm.
This reckoning has been a long time coming. The pronoun madness, drag story time, bathroom wars, cis name calling, and general overreach of the trans community has done irreparable harm to the LGB community and just general sanity.
Yep.
So the author replied, there was a lot I wish I could have gotten into this story, and you've named a lot of the issues that kept coming up in my interviews. A lot of people who are very pro-trans rights think that their movement has not learned how to talk to the country. Language, specifically activist jargon, is a big concern. Terms like cisgender and misgender and gender affirming care don't exactly roll off the tongue.
Yeah, but referring to it as healthcare is further obfuscating it. Like, that's actually a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Rodrigo says, she wants to refer to it as just healthcare. Well, to me, that's more insidious.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
I agree. That's obfuscating what the reality is.
It's like calling lobotomies healthcare.
Right. Or saying something like top surgery when it's a double mastectomy.
Yeah.
Or bottom surgery when it's castration.
Or worse. I've seen those surgery pictures, and the complications alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, it's just like your analogy with we wouldn't give an anorexic liposuction. Right. Can liposuction be used in a healthcare context? Yes.
Right.
But is it healthcare when you're doing it to an anorexic? No.
No.
And it's the same thing with stunting the puberty of a child. So when they grow up, they have zero sexual function and they're sterile.
Yeah.
Like, how is that improving anyone's health?
Yeah. Well, or even when you have a healthy adult body and, removing healthy breast tissue or healthy genitalia, like that's not improving healthcare. That's creating more problems that are going to require lots of follow-up and probably medications to treat.
Absolutely.
Medicine restores function. It doesn't take it away.
Yeah,
Great
ideally.
point, irradiated woman. Let's look at what J.K. Rowling had to say about all this. Because she tweeted about it. Okay, so she posted just a screenshot of the start of that article that we just read.
Mm.
And then she wrote...
she's so right, that first sentence.
I know. The rewriting of history begins. Opponents of gender ideology haven't merely endured unsparing criticism. I haven't simply been told I betrayed real feminism or received a few book-burning videos. Mm-hmm. I've been sent thousands of threats of murder, rape, and violence. A trans woman posted my family's home address with a bomb-making guide. My eldest child was targeted by a prominent trans activist who attempted to dox her and ended up doxing the wrong young woman. I could write a 20,000-word essay on what the consequences have been to me and my family, and what we've endured is nothing compared to the harm done to others.
Mm-hmm.
By standing up to a movement that relies on threats of violence, ostracization, and guilt by association, all of us have been smeared and defamed, but many have lost their livelihoods. Some have been physically assaulted by trans activists. Female politicians have been forced to hire personal security on the advice of police. The news that one of the UK's leading endocrinologists, Dr. Hilary Cass, was advised not to travel by public transport for her own safety should shame everyone who let this insanity run amok.
Wow.
I
didn't know about that.
Yeah, Dr. Hilary Cass spent years conducting a study and a report on the effects of puberty blockers on children. I did a stream about it. And basically all of her conclusions were, this is absolutely fucked up and shouldn't be done to children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, lest we forget, gender apostates have been targeted for crimes such as doubting the evidential basis for transitioning children, for arguing for fair sport for women and girls, for wanting to retain single-sex spaces and services, especially for the most vulnerable, and for thinking it barbaric to lock in female prisoners with convicted male sex offenders. Now, the political landscape has shifted, and some who've been riding high on their own supply are waking up with a hell of a hangover. They've started wondering whether calling left-wing feminists who wanted all-female rape centers Nazis was such a smart strategy. Maybe parents arguing that boys ought not to be robbing their daughters of sporting opportunities might sort of have a point. Possibly letting any man who says I'm a woman into the locker room with 12-year-old girls could have a downside after all.
Yeah.
Right? Mealy-mouthed retconning of what has actually happened over the past 10 years is predictable but will not stand. I don't doubt those who've turned a blind eye to the purges of non-believers or even applauded and encouraged them would rather minimize what the true cost of speaking out was. But yes, maybe trans activists went a little over the top at times. Takes are frankly insulting. A full reckoning on the effects of gender ideology on individuals, society, and politics is still a long way off, but I know this. The receipts will make very ugly reading when that time comes, and there are far too many of them to sweep politely under the carpet.
Yep. I so agree with everything she just said.
So good.
Yeah,
So good.
I also felt dissatisfied during the article reading. Like, it was full of contradictions and minimizing.
Yeah. I was like, because I didn't read it ahead of time, I just kind of skimmed it, and I was hoping like that there would be some like, oh yeah, maybe actually we have been kind of crazy, but there really wasn't. It was just like, oh, we should be a little bit nicer maybe, and then they'll come to our side. Like there was no like actual ownership of the crazy shit that they do.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh my God. In the chat, Sonia said a TRA assaulted me in August. Police have charged her. I got punched over 30 times, mostly in the head, by trans activists at an International Women's Day march. I was in a wheelchair. Oh my God, Sonia. That's horrific. I'm really glad that you reported it and that the person is being charged. I really hope for a good outcome for you. Oh my God, that's horrible.
I hope they throw the book at her and everybody who punched you. It's
literally sick.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah, I hate how no one but TERFs ever acknowledge how TRAs act at feminist events.
Well, you know, much like the poor LGB, feminists are being blamed for trans, even radical feminists, even though we're different.
I know.
You
like,
know,
well, the trans or the women's movement is what pushed for all this. And it's like,
right.
No.
Without acknowledging that there's a difference between, you know, the mainstream capitalist, posy feminist and actual radical feminists who believe in material reality and the fact that we're oppressed based on our sex. So
yeah. Feminists, women wanting like the same rights as men does not equate to men can now be women. Like what?
Right.
I wonder how people in the far future will look at this madness.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, yes, people nowadays talk about how barbaric, for example, lobotomy was, but there's not a lot of outrage about it because it's so long ago, you know? So I'm guessing it'll be the same type of deal. Future generations will be like, oh, wow, that's kind of crazy, right? But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll really realize how terrible it was.
Don't mind me. I'm just.
Ooh, you can change the format.
Yeah.
Which one do you like the best?
I like the classic one because it's biggest, but it takes out my little froggy.
It does.
It's fine. Okay, let's go back. The way feminists have been talking about these issues since the 70s, but since nobody has ever listened to us, men get all the credit for waking up to it yesterday.
Yeah, for real. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously, J.K. Rowling's been speaking up about it for years.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah,
is frustrating.
it's like when freaking Matt Walsh put out that stupid documentary. What was it called? Like, what is a woman?
Feminists talking about this.
But
It's like, we've been here.
he lifted arguments made by actual rad femmes and put it in his stupid documentary and pretended like he came up with it. And then blamed basically women and feminism and
why aren't women about this? Where's the women on this issue?
They blame feminists because they think that we want the sexes to be exactly the same and we're taking down gender roles and everybody's going to be dressed in a gray jumpsuit and there's going to be no difference between men and women and this is what the feminists wanted, so of course now there's trans people who want to change gender. And it's like, yeah, I know, Sonia, he's a goober.
Yeah, super conservative too, like religious.
Yeah, he's goddess. Exactly. Great minds think alike.
Fired Milk says, I figure the end of this will be all the 12-year-olds who got these surgeries done growing up to have very real issues. Yeah, I fear that as well. Like I feel like the lawsuits are just around the corner.
Yeah, I feel like there's still more time to be had because unfortunately I have seen videos of usually young women who are having mad complications. Like they've had the phalloplasty, right? And they'll make videos detailing the hellish complications that they're having.
Yeah.
Like literal skin rotting off and like just surgeries upon revision surgeries. But they'll still be like, I still believe in gender affirming care.
Great.
Don't let my experience deter you. I still believe in it.
Like, yeah, I literally have necrotizing fasciitis, but you should definitely do this too.
Like, what is it going to take?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. That's some real like cult brainwashing there. She doesn't want to anger the mob, I think, by turning apostate. Even though she's living in a hellish flesh prison now because she's basically disabled, like totally disabled. And yet that's not enough to turn her against the church.
So a few years ago, there was a girl suing the NHS in the UK. The National Health Service.
What was her name? Kira Bell?
Kira Bell. Yes. I was just listening to a video by Genevieve Gluck where she talks about how these kids going on puberty blockers are without sexual function, and the doctor who advised for it admitted it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. It's really frustrating because, yeah, the puberty blockers and surgeries, like, that's gonna, like, change your whole life. Or, like, the one sad one was like with that kid Jazz Jennings.
I was just thinking about Jazz.
Puberty blockers and hormones forever, and then when it came time to have the surgery, the surgeon was like, "Ooh, your genitals aren't developed enough to have the surgery." Like,
yeah, he was like a teenager and he had the genitals of like a 2-year-old boy.
Right, like all of those years of like working towards this, and then that's sad. That's so sad. Also, I remember one time I saw a clip from the show and the interviewers were asking Jazz about like having children in the future. And he literally said that, well, I would just use my husband's sperm and my sister's egg and she could carry the baby for us.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Like, you've been quote unquote raised as a girl for like your entire life, but you're like still that male entitled to a female's body that you'll just use your sister's body to carry a baby for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what females are for.
Right.
Just vessels. I mean, did Jazz even discuss this with his sister before saying
Right,
that on
exactly. He
national
just
television?
decided, I'm going to use my sister's body, like that language, use her to.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yep. Ugh, a man will always be a man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. What's crazy is almost every single hospital experimenting on children causes sexual disorders. Yeah, I'm sure.
Of course, you're messing with the natural process of maturation, like sexual maturation.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because the feminists that actually say stuff like this get shouted down, like, why are you so obsessed with children's genitals?
It's like, we're not the ones who want to medically experimentally operate on them. Like, we
Right.
would like the children's bodies to just be left alone, but you guys are the ones that want adults to like experiment on kids' bodies. Like, I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
And
What?
maybe when you're 12, it's not a huge deal that you'll never have any kids or have any sexual function whatsoever. But
Mm,
imagine being 30 and 40
yeah.
and knowing that you can never have that. Like,
Yeah.
you can never experience
Have a
it.
normal, like, human existence.
Right. It's like, that's monstrous to me.
Yeah. I don't want to cut up healthy kids. I'm crazy.
Right. We're just obsessed with kids. Like, oh, you're just talking about kids' sexuality. It's like it's not about the kids' section. It's about what they're gonna have, like the life they're gonna have as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like people treat kids like they're accessories,
Yeah.
or that they'll always be like little show ponies forever. But these are people. They're gonna have their own lives. They're gonna have their own desires, and you don't know what they're going to want to do in 10, 20 years and how they're going to
Right.
feel.
I know
And
that's the thing too. It's like when they talk about like, oh, they this 4-year-old knows that they're trans, and it's like this 4-year-old doesn't know if they like fire trucks or ponies. Like these
exactly.
and and when you say shit like, well, we don't let like minors like pierce and tattoo themselves, and they'll say, well, that's not the same thing. And it's like, no, no, no. What you're doing to these children is far worse than a 14-year-old getting a tattoo.
Yeah,
Far
that's not
worse.
far worse because that tattoo is not going to affect like a
Right.
human biological function. It's the
Yeah.
same. Okay, it's the same thing as if they took a child and cut out the entire intestine and put a colostomy bag in.
Right.
It was just like, well, we've taken away your ability to take a shit for the rest of your life, like a normal
Yeah.
person. Like it's regular biological functions that every human being
Yes.
should be free to experience. Like it's all part of being human. Like having a sexual life, like falling in love, like
Yeah.
be having a normal I know
Right.
some people
And
have disease and stuff, but like as much as possible, like a normal functioning of all the systems of the
right,
body.
because even like your hormonal systems and stuff like contribute to that sort of thing, like something as simple as falling in love or like having a
Yeah.
intimate connection with another person. Like if you fuck with all that shit, like regular normal human experiences are not going to be available to these people.
No, and going back to Jazz, because like his whole life was documented pretty much,
Yeah,
right?
from like the age
And
of
it
4.
and it is a sad watch. Like you listen to him talk about relationships and falling in, because now he's an adult, right? He's a young
Yeah.
adult. And the way he talks about it is very like theoretical. You can tell he feels nothing, like he doesn't feel anything like that. He
Yeah.
he talks about wanting a family or falling in love because he knows that that's what normal people do, but there's no desire there for that. It's just like, yeah, I guess I'll have a relationship. I mean, I don't really feel anything, and I've
Right.
never had any feelings whatsoever of a romantic sense ever.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is construct that kind of stuff. That's just a part
No.
of a natural human experience.
And they've like taken it away from him forever.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
There's
And now all it can ever be for him now is a concept. Like, that's it. It can't ever be real.
Yep. Life Sucks says, oh no, that's not the crap. Where was the comment I just saw? Oh, Lee. I wonder if the TRA is advocating for the belief that children can give informed consent to mutilate their bodies if they think they can consent to sex with an adult. I mean, with the way that people are, like, the freaking crazy queers are pushing the MAP thing, minor attracted person, like,
there are people, and I'm undecided on this for myself, but there are people who think of the trans movement as a Trojan horse.
Yeah, for pedophiles.
Yeah. And the whole thing is to make society more accepting of that. And I mean, I have to admit, there's kind of a point, at least with, I'm like, look at Jeffrey Marsh. Look at that weird fucker.
Weirdo inviting underage children to have private conversations with him.
Yeah.
Ugh, their gender.
A lock, Mr. Little girls are kinky. Like, look at all the pressure to have kids talk to, like, queer approved teachers and not involve their parents, and talk online to, you know, your queer family and not involve your family, your real family, you know?
Yeah. It's fucked up.
It's just like a grooming paradise.
I agree. It's very
creepy. Lily, is this all news to you? I'm sorry.
Thanks, Lee, for another. That's very nice. I'm going to match donations up to $25 and give them to Vancouver Rape Relief, just FYI, because it's Giving Tuesday. Yeah. If they can identify as the opposite sex, what's stopping you from doing the same thing with age, race, or species? Well, and that's the funny thing, too, is these activists, like, people do bring up that point, and these activists will then say, oh, my God, that's not the same. Oh, my God, you're so racist for suggesting that. And it's like, but you're not misogynist for suggesting that a man can be a woman? Like, oh, it's not the same thing. Well, how is it not? Misogynist for suggesting. It doesn't make any sense. No, that's okay. It's just crazy to me. We've long known that men in dresses are dangerous to women and children. We have always known that all men who want to get into women's spaces are pervs. Yeah, like, that's just, like, I feel like understanding that concept is, like, so ingrained in humans. Like, and when women are told, like, it's no big deal that men come into the restroom, or just, like, ignore it, or just mind your own business, you're telling women to completely ignore, like, their instincts. Your instincts when a man enters the space that he shouldn't be in, like, immediately, of course, you're going to be like, what the fuck? But, like, these trans activists are telling women to completely ignore what's instinctual to us about our safety. And it's so insidiously disgusting.
Absolutely.
So gross. Yeah. Sonia says, I won't pretend I wasn't born knowing it. Yes. Suppress your own instincts for someone else's comfort. I have to find just a second. There's a former YouTuber who I miss her channel all the time. She was called Sary's Revenge. She had a great quote about this, and I'm just going to find it because I know I have it here somewhere. Okay, she wrote, I'm not going to share my screen because I just have it saved in, like, a Word document, so it's existential gamer. Yeah, well, that's great. Thanks. That's very nice. Yeah. Okay, so Sarah's Revenge wrote, self-defense training at a very trans-inclusive gym has been very difficult for me because rule 1 of self-defense is trust your perceptions. And my perceptions tell me that women don't walk into 7-Elevens with axes, but men do. My perceptions tell me that women don't kill their entire families and all the pets, but men do. They do that a lot. This whole killing pets thing, that's pure dude, pure male right there. My perceptions also tell me that males are more impulsive, more interested in short-term gratifications, and oblivious to long-term consequences, much more sexually aggressive, much more violent, and much less caring than women. My perceptions also tell me that sex is an immutable quality that cannot be changed via cosmetic surgery, and that cosmetic surgery isn't natural. So I train in a gym where I take great pains not to use any pronouns when referring to trans people, which takes energy. Also, that I don't have to confirm falsehoods, which would amount to gaslighting both myself and women. I'm training in an environment where I'm not really allowed to trust my perceptions and name reality accordingly, which is rule number 1 of self-defense. That's the position we're in as women.
Yeah. Well, this is like a societal problem. Women are trained to ignore their instincts all the time, not just with trans stuff. Or it's mostly just like with men. Like women are trained to like be nice, be polite. If a man's offering to help you carry your groceries into your house, like you don't want to be rude and say no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They want us gaslighting ourselves.
Yeah. And
Ooh.
if you
Go
go
ahead.
online, oh sorry, like if you go online and tell the story about how you had a bad feeling about a guy and ended up like getting away from him or like standing up and leaving or whatever, you'll get people gaslighting you that you are a misandrist and that you assume the worst of all men and that you need to be kinder to people, and it's crazy. Sorry, what were you gonna
Yes.
say?
No, that just reminds me of a thing I saw on Twitter today, but I didn't like it or save it to my bookmarks or anything, so I can't find it. But basically, this woman tweeted that she has had multiple instances of like where she's ordered like DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the profile of your deliverer. And she
Yeah.
tweeted that she has had multiple instances of where the profile of the delivery person is a female picture, like a picture of like a woman. It's definitely a woman. And then a man shows up at her
Mm-hmm.
door.
Yeah, I've
And
heard that too.
she was like tweeting that if that ever happens to you, you should report that account immediately. And of course, people were freaking out in her DMs, being like, well, what if it's a woman's account, but it's her boyfriend who's making the delivery or whatever? And it's like, no, like if you're presenting yourself as a woman online and you're a man showing up at a woman's door,
Yeah,
fuck
also,
off.
pretty sure that's against DoorDash's terms of
Of
service
course,
anyway.
that's why they should be reported. But like,
Yeah.
that is really scary. I've never had that happen. But now that I read that today, I'm going to be a little bit more aware when I do order something delivered to my house.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen some crazy DoorDash stories of like the drivers taking note of where the woman lives and like
Yeah.
messaging her after the fact and like just crazy.
There was actually a case in my city maybe 2 years ago of a man who was arrested and charged because he was an Uber driver, and then he returned to the woman he dropped off. He returned to her home later and broke in and assaulted her.
Oh my God.
That's so scary.
That is scary. Wow.
Ugh. Yeah, really gross. Ugh, so
I guess we're talking about furries.
furries.
And
Should I tell my insane furry story?
Yes, I've never heard your. Wait, can I get a drink first?
Of course. Go, go, go. We'll be
I'll
here.
be right
I'll tell
back.
my story when you come back.
Yes, I want to hear it. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I'll tell you all my insane furry story, but let me catch up on the chat now. Need to know my opinions on furries? I don't trust any of them. Not a single one. I saw some chat talking about how like some of it is borderline. No, I don't trust a single one of them. Lily, just you wait until Existential Gamer comes back. I have a story for y'all that happened to me 20 years ago, and I think about it from time to time still. But yeah, I do not trust any furries. I think certainly there are people who are into that stuff and it's harmless, however kind of weird it is. But I think a lot of it is borderline on really weird stuff, like my furry story that I have to share.
I needed wine for this.
Yeah, oh boy. Yes, you do. I've told this story on stream before, but you know, it's Oh God. Okay, so this was probably, I guess, 20 years ago, 2004, I would think, or 5. I was in grade 10 or 11, but I think grade 10. And I had there was a boy at school who, like, he was gay, I was gay. So, and we went to a Catholic school. So, like, you'll take what you can get when you're the gay kid in Catholic school for friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so he and I were like friends at school. We never hung out outside of school, but we were friends at school. And back in the day, we would chat on MSN Messenger, which was like AIM for Americans.
Yes.
And we would chat on MSN Messenger. And this one evening, we were chatting, and he was like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Okay." And he asked me, "Have you ever heard of furries?" And I said, and I had, because I was a child raised on the Wild West of the internet, unsupervised. And so I said, "Yeah, I have." Lily, yes, it is the bat story. Lily knows the story.
Oh.
Okay. And so I said, yes, I had. And then he said, "Okay, well, I think I'm a furry." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "Can I show you something?" And I should have said no. But, narrator voice, she did not say no. So I said, okay. So he sent me a picture. And again, I was 15 or 16 when this happened. And so was he. And I will never forget it. It is emblazoned into my brain 20 years later, forever. I can remember every single detail. He sent me this furry fan art of 2 anthropomorphic bats in an alleyway under a street lamp. I can remember every detail. Oh my God.
Oh, God.
And one of the bats was gray and one of the bats was orange, and they were both male. They had human male genitalia.
Yes.
And the gray one, or the whatever color, it doesn't really matter. The gray one was topping the orange bat.
Oh, God.
Okay. And he typed to me, "Sometimes I like to pretend I'm the orange bat."
Oh, God. No, my eyes.
I was 16. I will never, ever forget it. It is emblazoned into my brain forever.
Wow.
He doesn't. And as a matter of fact, he is a full-fledged furry to this day with like a fox fursona.
Not the persona.
Yeah. Full-on fursuit, conventions, the whole deal. Oh my God.
Wow.
And yes, I will never, ever, ever forget it. I will never forget it. Sometimes I like to pretend I'm the orange bat getting fucked by a gray bat. Oh my God.
It's just branded there forever in your mind.
Right. Literally, I think I'll just continue being a boob enjoyer like a normal person.
Right?
Same. Oh.
Even
I know.
even if I don't know, even if you like dudes, that's weird. Like,
it's fucking weird.
It's weird.
It's
weird. Man. Also, PSA to any woman, anytime a guy asks you, "Can I ask you a question?"
The answer has to be no.
Always no. I used to tell people this on Reddit. I used to tell women this on Reddit. Anytime a guy messages you and is like, "Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you something?" Block him.
I know.
Lily's like, how did you become like that? But the question is like, why are the paraphilias why does it develop in men at the rate it does at all? Like, I think it's just a guy thing. Like, it's a male thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not furryism, it's something else, you know?
Man.
Yeah, expired milk. That's literally what furries are. It's like, I'd like to have sex with this whoever, but I want to be an animal and I want them to be an animal too. An anthropomorphic animal.
Like what?
Like, yeah. How does that, like, okay. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what gets them going. Not
I
just
know.
regular like human sex. Like it has to be like
Right.
anthropomorphic.
What the fuck? Yeah, this is unrelated, but Planet Lex brought this up, and I posted about it on my community tab today. So there was the
Oh,
2024
I heard of
Fashion
this.
Awards, and a white male pretending to be a woman won Model of the Year over Anakyai, who has been like on the cover and on the runway of like literally everything.
Yeah,
And
I
she's
think
a Sudanese black refugee, and a
yeah,
white man who pretends to be a woman was
yeah.
the winner.
I'm pretty sure somebody messaged me about this today. Posted it today.
I posted it on my community tab today.
Yes, but I think it was posted in the Discord too.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
but it's like it's just this is how like trans is, it's a men's movement because they get special consideration and special treatment, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just a basic white man.
Yeah.
He was also, like, I guess this year, the first trans to walk in the Victoria's Secret fashion show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just a man versus a knock. Yay. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Oh, she was in this catsuit at the Met Gala. I remember that picture so perfectly. It was so cool.
Yeah. Oh wait, there's another picture of it, right?
Here?
Like a full body pic? Yeah. That's right. This was a really cool one.
Yeah, I'm trying to open the image. Whoops, not save. No.
Your computer has 10,000 viruses now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember this when we did the Met Gala review. Yeah.
It's pretty.
I like the gradient
Mm.
and the starry look of it. It's really pretty. Yeah. She's so pretty.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, so yeah, mediocre white man wins a woman's award. A woman's award went to a man.
Yeah.
Not that I care a whole lot about like fashion awards, but
No,
I care about a man taking something that is meant for a woman.
Well, yeah, it's like the phenomenon, right? So if you ever like go on fashion subs or makeup subs or anything, like sometimes I'll pop in there just to see what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much the makeup subs anymore because I don't do that, but some of the women subs, with fashion. But if a guy posts there, especially if he says he's trans, he gets so many upvotes, and like he can look like my dad in blue eyeshadow, and he'll get like, oh my
Right,
god,
like, oh my god, fierce, so beautiful. Oh, yeah.
He can look like Bill Dotree from King of the Hill, and it doesn't matter. He'll still be called beautiful, and that's the thing. Like,
yeah. Wow, I couldn't even tell that you're trans.
Wow, can't even tell, Bill.
Like, why do they do that?
I don't know. Yeah, it is the hug box. Yeah, for sure. But what grinds my gears is that if a homely woman were to go on those subreddits, they definitely would not get
with like the unblended eyeshadow or whatever,
Right. Yeah. The kindest thing that would happen is the post would get absolutely zero traction, and then the worst thing that would happen is she would get criticized and that she does not look good. Yeah, but Sonia, they're so narcissistic that they don't even see it as cruel. It's
they're feeding off of it.
Yeah, it's like supply to them.
Mm-hmm. Same thing happens in crafting subs. Mediocre guys in the fiber arts can rake in the love. Interesting.
And I have a spicy take too.
Ooh,
and I don't know if it's out of line. But I find it interesting that the trans woman looks like an Aryan wet dream and like won out over an absolutely gorgeous dark-skinned black woman.
Oh yeah, I know. I thought about the same thing too. Like this basic ass white dude who's like I know like fashion models are like, they're not necessarily supposed to be beautiful, but they're supposed to be like interesting or whatever to look at.
Striking.
Like he's not. He's just a white guy. And this stunning woman who has gone through hell and high water to get where she is in life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Says something about like the uptick in like racism that we're experiencing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like, because, you know, colorism is real too. So like,
oh yeah. Yeah, and she's a very dark-skinned Black woman. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding?
Racist.
The alt-right, like Nazi to trans pipeline is so real. They joke about it. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I used to be a Nazi, haha, but now I'm a beautiful."
Now I'm a stunning and brave woman.
Yeah, and I listen to BreadTube and I go on all the communism subreddits and stuff, which is like, okay, are you really not a Nazi anymore? I doubt it.
Right.
Yeah, Ice Goddess, you can definitely make the argument that like the whole fashion and like modeling world is racist for sure. It's just very starkly obvious with this particular case.
Yeah. Don't ask a T-girl about her politics before coming out. Right.
For real, yeah.
I wonder why this is right to trans pipeline. I wonder why that is a phenomenon.
I have some theories.
Let's hear them.
Because, well, first, a lot of the alt-right guys are incels, right? And a lot of the incel tenants, they're very porn-brained, first of all. So all women to them are what they see in porn. And they think women live life on easy mode and that we're constantly affirmed and loved.
Right, and get all the sex they want. And...
Right. Our lives are just like a merry-go-round of sexy times where men buy us free drinks and Birkin bags and whatever. Like, that's what being a woman is, right? So they've got that. And then the other feature of being alt-right is that there's a lot of MRAs there, a lot of like anti-feminists, right? So what is the best way to get all the affirmation you think you're going to get, like all the sexual attention you think you're going to get, because your like conception of how women live is completely skewed. Okay, but you can also take what women have. You can force yourself into their proximity, whereas incels are basically shunned by most women and girls, right? Most of the time. But if you're trans, you know, not only are you living your completely pornified Coomer fantasy, but you're allowed around all these women and you're able to like kind of get one over on them. You get in their spaces, take their scholarships, take their positions. To me, it's not surprising whatsoever that like alt-right dudes that feel like they want life on easy mode and they hate women yeah. And then there's the whole, like, I make a better woman than you do, you know, like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Those are just my theories. I don't know if I'm right.
No, I think it sounds about right.
Yeah.
But, like, what do they want out of it? Like, once they transition, then what? Like, what do they...
Living Lux says it. They get off on the proximity and how they have to, or you have to affirm them.
Yeah.
Like they love to they're narcissists, right? So getting the supply from you, whether it's like from bullying or from like the social politeness that compels a lot of, especially young women, to like hug box, right? It's all the same. They get their thrills from that, and they know that they're like not welcome because they're men, or they feel like they're gaming the system, like they have the cheat code, you know, they're in.
Right. Yeah, this comment from a radiated woman also. They think they're smarter than average and that they'd be happier if they were dumber. Then they believe that estrogen makes you dumb by taking it, and being a girl, they'll be a happy bimbo.
Yeah. Well, plus that whole bimbo thing just gives them a boner. So
yeah,
you know, that's like their fetish too. So, but that is what they think women are. They think that we're inferior. They think that we're dumb, and that we're only good for sex. So it's really not that big of a leap to me at all.
Yeah.
Like it's almost weird if there weren't a lot of like alt-right MRA incel dudes
Mm-hmm.
going trans, because it dovetails perfectly with those ideologies. It really does.
Yuck.
Yeah, big yuck.
Big yuck. Ugh. Ugh.
So many
How
good
do
takes.
sorry?
I'm just reading the chat. There's a lot of good takes.
Life Sucks asks or says, how do tiffs listen to these men speak, especially since a lot of them were gender non-conforming lesbians beforehand? Yeah, I don't know.
I asked the same question.
How do trans-identified females put up with the men in the movement? I don't get it.
I don't know. I asked the same question for like you know, lib femmes
Yeah.
and supposed lefties that have been you know, especially the ones that have been criticizing like MRAs and incels and stuff like that. Like it's the same thing. I think I said this last stream. It's like they just put a different coat of paint on it, but a lot of this, they say a lot of the same stuff. So, but if you put trans on it, you can't question it, or
Right.
you
It's
know,
the priest class.
right.
Can't.
But if
Yeah.
it was just some greasy incel saying it, they'd just, you know, make a blog post about it and make fun of them and move on. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. I guess when it comes to tiffs, the logic is that they were never women in the first place, so it doesn't apply to them.
Tiffs are a very big mystery to me because, yes, and yet a lot of them still want to be in female spaces.
Right.
And a lot of like the lesbian ones still date women, and I've heard a lot of them say like, yeah, it's fine if you call me a lesbian, but I'm a man, you know, or I'm non-binary. It's
Right.
weird. It's like a weird double think. Like they still, believe me, they're entitled to be in female spaces. They are female,
Yeah.
right? But you'd think that if you wanted to identify as a man or out of being female, you wouldn't be comfortable, but that's really where they want to be, which, you know, obviously is safer for them
Mm-hmm.
to be, and they belong there. But like the dissonance is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Like what, why?
So sorry, I have to pee so bad.
Oh,
Would you be able
okay.
to hold the fort for a second?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be back in a sec. I'll be in the chat though.
Okay. Yes, exactly, tapeworm. And I can't highlight comments. Only Radical can do that. But yeah, they believe women have life on easy mode and transition, and believe it more after not realizing they're still getting the experience of a male. If they were ever actually treated as a woman, they'd lose it. Yeah, that is so true. Like, yeah, they couldn't, because real women don't get hug boxed, right? Like, we've probably got a lot of women from a lot of different walks of life, but like, I know being hug boxed and eternally validated was not my experience as a woman. I don't think anyone in this chat uh, could say that that was their experience, you know? Just like, oh, life on easy mode. Everything's great. Teehee. Everyone loves me all the time, and my emotions always get validated, and I can cry anytime I want, and everybody will come and take care of me. Like, that's what these guys think women do, and that's what they think our lives are like. So yeah, life sucks. I do agree with you about Blair. I have watched like probably less than 10 minutes of her entire content. um yeah, I think HSTS, like Blair, fetishized the female body just as much as the AGPs. The only difference is that they get turned on by straight men desiring them. Yeah, and like Blair made a BJ joke, and has said before, at least in the clips I watched, has said stuff kind of dripping with jealousy, like, you know, I don't, it's a weird jealousy, like, oh, I can satisfy a man better. I'm more woman than you. Like, I know what makes men happy, you know, just offer them sex and BJs and whatever. So it's, yeah, it's just kind of nasty. Yeah. Yeah, tapeworm. And I always thought it was funny that, like, tiffs do not get male privilege at all. Not even a little. I mean, maybe if they're super stealth and no one ever clocks them or whatever, because I don't know about anybody in the chat, but I find that some women, depending on how long they've been on T and how much facial hair they grow out, some of them, and depending on like their body type, right? Some of them can marginally like fly under the radar. You don't really, you kind of glance at them and you don't really clock it, right? But yeah, they don't really get the privilege that a actual male would get. Yeah, Ricky, they do. I'm not saying like they probably do know how to make men happy. They know the psychology, like they know exactly how to do it. But it's just kind of that. It's just kind of like a weird jealousy. Like straight women aren't out here competing with you, Blair. Like calm down. Like I'm just, I don't know. I just find it a little bit weird.
I'm back.
Yeah. Hey, how was your trip?
It was successful, thanks.
Oh, good.
I was listening though. I took my phone so I could listen. Thanks for holding the fort down.
You listen to me ramble at the chat.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, exactly. I just got us. Blair does hate feminists. So he was an anti-feminist, which is why when a lot of the anti-trans, supposedly gender critical, quote unquote feminists would laud Blair White, I was always in the comments being like, does anybody remember when he was an anti-feminist, SJW feminist gets wrecked era of YouTube?
Right.
Like
yeah.
Nobody remember. He's just like, oh, he's
all of that stuff.
Yeah, like, oh, he's so reasonable and, you know, talking to gender critical feminists supposedly, but Blair White is like literally an MRA. So
yeah, and like right wing mega.
Right. Yeah, very. So yeah, I never understood like the love affair with Blair White, other than the fact that he points out the emperor has no clothes, but literally anyone can do that. Like,
yes.
Oh, Lee, you've actually met Buck Angel?
I just saw that. I mean, yeah, I've heard Buck speak tons, and I'm like, that's a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like anyone can pass in like a photo, right? Where you can angle and light it and edit it and whatever. Like anybody could pass really in a photo. But as soon as you see someone on video or in real life, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, I could see like passing someone in the grocery store and maybe they're wearing a hoodie and you can see the beard poking out and you're not like really looking.
Right.
I can see passing and not even realizing that that's a woman.
Yeah. But on closer, like, a 10-second pass in the grocery store, okay. But like if you're looking at someone, you're like, oh, I see what's going on here.
Right. Or if they're like facing you and actually talking to you and you can see their mannerisms and you can, you know, see their body language and stuff. A lot of times the body language will give it away. Yeah. And just like the demeanor.
Yeah. I do think the testosterone voice is very interesting though, because you would think that like it would do more. Like the voice is so not passable. Like you can always tell when it's a testosterone voice.
Well, it's because our actual, like our physical vocal cords are smaller.
Yeah.
And, you know, men have the bigger larynx, right?
Yeah.
Which is why they have Adam's apples. I mean, I know some women have Adam's apples, but like generally men have really big larynxes. And I think no matter how much tea we take, it's never going to change the size, like the physical size of our chords. So there's only so low we can go. Like, we're not going to sound like Barry White.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest tells, though, whenever I hear that. Also, this is not like a visual thing, but on my Instagram, like, For You page, you know, you see the little square of the picture, and I'm like, I can always immediately tell when it's a trans-identified female. And a game I always play is I'm going to open this person's profile, and in the bio, either they're going to have the syringe emoji with a date next to it indicating the date that they started testosterone, or they're going to have the words self-made man. And I always play this game on Instagram. I'm like, okay, which one's it going to be? And it's always there. Every single tiff has one or the two in their Instagram. Always.
I would have thought it would just be something like the trans flag or something.
No, it's always there. Always.
Wow.
It's so funny. It makes me laugh every time. I'm like, oh, there it is. Also, just saying hi to Rosie, hello, because she just said hi, and Ricky, hello, and Sophia, hello. Yes. Welcome, hello.
Oh, yeah. Hello, hello.
Sorry, what were you going to say? Also,
I've kind of joked about this before, and obviously I know it's not true for literally everybody, okay, but like, I've noticed that a lot of tiffs are very tiny.
Oh yeah, of course.
So like, I'm a big woman, right? Like, I'm 5'8", like I have size 10 feet, like I'm big, I'm you know, I'm statuesque. But the tiffs are always like 5 foot nothing.
Yeah,
like
it's like
elfin with like these tiny hands. Like, I got big ass hands. I don't fit in ladies' gloves. You know, when I buy winter gloves, I gotta buy men's winter gloves. But anyway, like, it's just funny to me that like it's always the tiniest elfin women that are tiffs. Like, why?
Yeah, like, and again, that's the thing, is like, you can see a photo of a person and be like, okay, fine, but then you see a tiff next to, like, in a group photo with actual men, and you're like, oh no,
right.
Oh
like, you
no,
never see big Amazon mamas, like, maybe you do, I don't know, I've just never seen it. Like, where's the muscle ladies? Like, you see like female bodybuilders and they don't trans out.
In fact, they're like hyper feminine most of the time.
Yeah,
like,
well,
the makeup and the hair and the nails and the
for sure, yeah, because they're into that aesthetic lifestyle. Like, bodybuilding, to me, bodybuilding is very modeling adjacent. It's just like a different sphere, but like, yeah. The other thing about tiffs I think is really noticeable, and you can tell me I'm full of crap, but they are probably the most female socialized women ever.
Yes.
They're like very, you can just tell. There's nothing rough around the edges about them. Like, they're very sweet, and they're very deferential, and like, you know, kind of anxious, and I don't know, it's just strange. So you've got these tiny ladies who are just very kind of meek in personality, you know, and they want to be men, and it's like, why?
Yeah, and okay, you're right. And when you were mentioning also earlier about how like they typically always like still want to be in like lesbian spaces and stuff, and that's fine because they pretty much are. I mean, they are lesbians, but like they never have like guy friends, right? They're never like one. They're just never going to be one of the guys, and they never like. Why are you transitioning to be a man, but you're still like engaging in every single like female and lesbian social group? Like, what is the point?
Their hobbies are feminine, like their way of speech is feminine, like all their friends are women.
Women. Yeah. They're never like out with the boys, like they don't have any guys So,
they
like,
don't
what
have
is even
boys.
the point of transitioning?
I have wondered this for
If
years.
you're not going to change, if anything about your life won't change, why do you need to become a man?
Right.
For what?
Like, that's such a mystery to me. I know normie straight women that are more masculine than some of these
Of
internet
course.
tiffs. Like they're pounding down beers, they're on a motorcycle, they're out with the boys. Like, listen, gender stereotypes are bullshit, right? I just think it's a funny thing that I've noticed.
Yeah.
I met women in the army that can give any man a run for his money, you know.
Right. Yeah. It's so weird. So weird.
I wonder if it's because they're like very female socialized and very like woman centered and woman focused and small, like maybe they feel vulnerable, so that's
I'm
like,
sure they do.
yeah, it's like a way for them to kind of build up a shield a little bit. I mean, I'm just kind of hypothesizing here, I have no idea, but I mean, it's possible, right? Like maybe there's a psychological, like they want to put that barrier up.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's kind of like how I joke that I like to be tall, because when I was in high school, the boys would walk around and pick up the really short girls
totally.
and carry them without their consent, like as a joke.
Yep.
And
I was a quote unquote victim of that. Because I'm like 5'1".
Right. So like being tall and on the bigger side, I was grateful that I was never vulnerable in that particular way. So I get it. Like, I'm not like making fun of them or disparaging them. I'm honestly curious about like just the tendencies I've noticed. And I'm pretty sure that it's like a vulnerability thing. Like they don't want to be as vulnerable. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. Ice goddess. That's such a good little mental snapshot of exactly the dynamic. Like literally.
Yeah, it's so true. Nothing changes in that regard.
For real. And like, and the Tim
They're
will
just
be all like,
man spreading womanly, femininely.
yeah. And the Tim will be all like loudmouth on the train, and the Tiff will not even want to speak up. She'll just be like, oh my God. It's just very, because he sucks all the oxygen out of the room. And like, of course, everybody knows who the male is, so he gets priority, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, Ricky, I'm kind of thinking out loud too. And I'm thinking it's probably the case. Just it's kind of an amusing thing that I've noticed. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, haha, they're so feminine and small. Like, it's honestly,
you can interesting. Only point out what you see with your own eyes. Like,
yeah,
you see.
It's what I notice. Very weird. Interesting.
Man spreads daintily, exactly.
Well, you got to let those very feminine testicles air out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've noticed almost all the non-lesbian tiffs are also always the submissive in the relationship. Yes, because, okay, I have theories now. I think the heterosexual tiffs, so who partner with biological men, the only kind of men.
Yes.
I think they're, well, obviously they're straight women who have like a gay male fantasy, and they want to be a cute twink
Ooh-woo.
femboy. Yeah, exactly. And they want to, like, they fetishize and fantasize about gay men in that way, and being like a cute twinky gay man. And their boyfriends are like, oh yeah, sure, babe, like, but I get to fuck you, right? So okay, sure.
Yeah.
Like, I
mean, straight guys will troll Grindr for these women.
Right.
We know this.
Yeah. So fucking weird, man.
Is it like a mod? Okay, I'm gonna be super un-PC because I'm old.
It's a safe space for it.
Back in the day, there used to be women called F hags.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Is this like a modern iteration of women who like idolize gay men? But
Uh,
back in the day though, it wasn't like a sexual thing.
right. So it's different. I think
Different.
like the term is, it's a French, I mean, French, Japanese
Mhm.
word, fujoshi.
Oh, I know
Fujo.
Fujoshi. Yeah,
Yeah. And
they
so,
like yaoi, the
right,
yaoi
exactly.
stuff.
And I think their extreme obsession with that wants them to be like, they leads them to want to become the characters in the like the male content they consume.
I just don't get that. I get why women like yaoi and gay male media.
Right.
There's
Well, I
a
think they do, like, yeah, because most of it is created by women,
by women,
right?
right?
They're women writing these emotionally intelligent
Hmm.
male characters, which doesn't exist in real life. And so
Right.
they want to have that
Yes. Yes. And
because
a
they're
lot
not
of
going to get it from a straight man in a straight relationship.
no, a lot of like heterosexual media is very imbalanced, right? And you've got a
Yes.
lot of like douchey boyfriends and stuff like that, and like uh men that treat the women like garbage until suddenly he loves her in the third act. You got a lot of possessive, jealous, and controlling relationships. But where it disconnects for me though is I also know that they like the yaoi because a lot of, especially the younger ones, have unexamined internalized misogyny. So
Mhm.
they hate female characters. Like they don't even want a friend like in the comic, a female friend. Like they're like, who is
Mhm.
she? Get her out of here, you know? So
Yeah.
there's like the no, I don't want any women in my yaoi, like it's gotta be pure.
Yeah.
But they're also women. So like I don't understand how you can, oh my God, I'm gonna be so crass here, but like how can you have a penis in your pussy and be like, I'm gay?
This is
I
so gay.
this is so
Right?
I'm yeah, like you yourself are basically fucking up your yaoi fantasy by being a gross girl,
Yes.
like
Like, you
I
are the woman that you're, like, upset about, like,
yeah, and
but
avoiding.
you know what? This phenomena also happens with, um, like, there are straight women who have sex with men who are even married to men who call themselves lesbians because they just identify as lesbians, but they're
Yeah,
having sex with men. It's the same thing. Like,
I I don't
there's
get
a
that either.
literally a dick in your pussy. Like, that what? It's
Right,
so
like
weird.
that's literally the best way I can put it. It's
No.
it's just like it cuts right through all the bullshit. Like seriously. And that whole thing, I think it's because bisexual is like a dirty word. I
Yeah,
don't
of
know what it
course.
is. It
I know.
like it doesn't have the clout. It doesn't have any clout. In fact, bisexuality is like, oh, so you're basically a SLUT then. You just like
Right.
want everything.
Or that, or, oh, you're really actually gay. You're just whatever. But
Oh yeah.
the thing is, okay, now I'm gonna get spicy.
Ooh.
Okay, okay.
I know, right? I'm like, how do I
Bisexuals,
think of this?
so bisexuals themselves are the number one perpetrators of biphobia and
I know.
bisexual erasure.
I know. I think this
Like,
too.
they will talk about bisexual erasure and biphobia all the time, but you're the ones who are doing it to yourselves by calling yourself lesbians when you're not. Like,
Right.
like, what are you talking about?
Also,
Or,
I've just heard way too many stories of like bisexual women who don't take their relationships with other women seriously at
oh yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. Of
Like
course.
at all.
And their male partners are totally fine with it because a relationship between two women is not something to be
Real.
serious about.
Right. Like
There's
it's
no
not
threat to them there. They
no.
would care so much if their girlfriend or wife slept with a man, but
Right.
they do not care if it's with a woman.
It's because like even bisexual women they think that being with a woman is like just the inferior rung on the ladder. Like,
Mm.
it's not a real relationship. Like, oh, I'm just like, I'm just like occupying my time and experimenting, and then I'm gonna get a real, like, an actual husband, like a real relationship.
Right.
Like, what?
It's so homophobic and biphobic.
Mm,
Like, I say this all the
I know.
time. I wish bisexual women would embrace their bisexuality and be loud and proud about it. Like when it comes to like this stuff or also the political lesbian stuff, like there
Okay.
is so much, I feel there is so much to admire in a woman who is bisexual and says, yo, I am bisexual. I could be with men, but I choose not to be
Mhm.
because I know the realities of patriarchy. I think that is like top-notch chef's kiss.
Yeah, the
But
whole fem thing, right?
yes,
Fem fem?
exactly. It's amazing, but like for some reason they won't do it. I'm like, you literally have the choice. You literally could choose.
Exactly. Lily says, I've met bi women who only want to be with women for sex, but never a relationship, and they like to be dominant with women, but submissive with
Mm,
men.
yes, I have as well.
Why does anybody have to be dominant or submissive at all? I don't know. Oh, I don't like
Hmm.
that. I don't like that whole deal. I like to be mutual. I like it to be
Right.
mutual.
It should be a partnership.
Mutuality.
Yes.
You can be both or neither of those things. Like, ugh, I don't know. I don't like anything smacking of BDSM, like, whatsoever. Not whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Um, oh, gross. Something crazy I've seen is some tiffs try to flex on twinks and be like, we're the perfect bottoms. Ew, that's so homophobic and gross.
But I also have to laugh because, like, yeah, congratulations. Like, you have a pussy that's literally made to receive a dick, and it's somehow perfectly bottom. Yes, very, very good.
So gay.
So gay. New ideas. Amazing. This has never been done before. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree, Ice Goddess. Like,
Ooh, I'm in a few radical feminist Discord servers, and I'm sure some of the women in the chat are also in this server. Maybe they saw what I'm about to
ooh.
bring up. I recently saw in one of them, I can't remember which one it was, but there was a woman in there who was talking about like being very pro BDSM, and she was talking about how like it's totally normal and it can be very safe and it can be feminist and blah blah blah. And I posted in there, I was like, I'm
No.
confused about being in a radical feminist server where pro BDSM is being allowed to be spoken
Mm,
about in this manner. And
yeah.
she would not let up. She was like going off. And I actually didn't follow
Ew.
up with what happened, but I was like, what is happening here in this radical feminist server? Ugh.
Yeah, that's very disturbing.
Yeah, like, and she was even like, "Oh, I've seen plenty of radical feminists who are pro BDSM," and I'm like, "No, you haven't.
And
No, you haven't."
if they're calling themselves radical feminists, but they still like to dominate or be submissive to a man, like, what, they need to do some work, because what the fuck?
Yeah.
Also,
Oh,
like,
Ice Goddess, you did see it, didn't you?
oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit
Yeah,
in the other place too, but like
yeah.
the whole like fitness pole dancing thing, and it's like literally formed, birthed from the patriarchy. Like, why do you have to pole dance to get fit? Like,
Right. That you could do literally anything else. You could still dance.
literally, yes, or just fucking go for a jog. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
don't
other
know.
thing too is like, if being okay, so being a rad femme, if I was with a woman,
Hmm.
what, why would I want to dominate her? Like,
Right.
that's gross to me. Like, to like bring, almost bring the patriarchy into the bedroom, right? Like,
Mm.
like I
This is great from Expired Milk. It's just confusing as BDSM being the one of the topics in asexual spaces. If you take the
oh,
sex out of BDSM, is that not just getting slapped around for funsies? Right. If you
yeah.
take the sex out of it, you're just like enjoying beating a person. And then when you add the sex back in, that's worse. You're getting off on beating a person.
Right. Well, I've been around like feminist blogosphere spaces for like 20 years, and there's always been this weird BDSM component, especially in the lib fem circles, right? But every time they described it, it was like the least sexy thing I think anyone has ever described.
Yeah.
Like, there's... Okay, I'm going to get a little graphic again.
Go for it.
Okay.
We're adults here.
There's no... At least none of the accounts that I read, there's no, like, female pleasure outside of just getting spanked or tied up or hit or whatever. Like, there's no attention on the clit. They're not being gone down on at all. Like, it's all about them being like slapped around and basically serving as a receptacle for some guy.
Right.
And she's like, I don't know how many times I read like how she didn't actually get off, but being in subspace is just the best.
Oh man, when I hear about subspace, that it upsets me so much. Like that's dissociation.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like a traumatic dissociation
event.
Right.
That's shock. That's dissociation. Like it's so horrifying and sad and scary.
Right.
Subspace? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What's wrong with these people?
I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, I can't even. No. Like, then there's also a difference between being like passionate and being BDSM. Like, you know.
I mean, who amongst us hasn't had a little bit of rough trade here and there, right? Like, but there's a difference between that and
I'm not going to be like
violence.
restraining someone or like hitting them.
No.
Or not like selfishly taking my pleasure and not, focusing on her at all, like a lot of these men do.
Yeah.
Like, the men in the scene, like that's all it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a subspace is like when a person who's the sub has withstood so much of the whatever happening in the quote unquote scene,
the abuse,
that they dissociate.
Right.
They literally check out.
Yeah.
Subspace refers to the trance-like state submissives experience during BDSM play. Like,
but one thing that just struck me is how non-sexual it is.
Right.
Like, it's not about them being like pleasured or stimulated in any sexual way. It's about them being
how much
like
they can
endure, yeah, and how much of a toy they can be. It's just not about. I just don't understand how that can be satisfying.
Yeah, it's so awful.
Yeah, exactly, tapeworm.
And then they also talk they always talk about like aftercare and like tending to your subs' needs and like giving them a drink and a cuddle, and it's like that's
like basically like love bombing after the abuse.
Right, exactly.
It's like an abusive husband who punches his wife and then buys her roses the next day. Like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
and
new
also
ideas.
Like a normal, healthy sexual experience should not require like aftercare. Aftercare is what you do to a person who's gone through something traumatic.
Right. Aftercare after some good sex is like, I don't know, lighting a cigarette or ordering Chinese food or pouring a drink and having pillow talk. Like that's aftercare.
Right. Oh, it's so scary to me. Yeah. Ricky and Sophia both said aftercare is trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's so messed up and scary to me.
Yeah, me too.
When I was in university, I knew a couple who were very active in the local BDSM scene. And like, I remember one time it was like an end of semester get together at their house. Like we had like a bonfire and stuff. It wasn't like a party, but it was just like a get together. And they were just like, and some of the people like were not like we weren't all like good friends. We just happened to be in university together, and they were openly talking about some of the stuff they'd done at like local BDSM stuff, and I'm just like, like, we don't know each other. Why are you telling me all this?
I think a lot of those weird BDSM people have like a voyeuristic.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
They like everybody to know, which is very cringy and awkward. It's like nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to imagine you two going at it at all.
It's so upsetting.
Yeah.
Freaks me out.
Me too. I've never liked it. Not even when I thought of myself as a lib femme. Like I never.
Same.
Never. Yeah.
Always been like,
no. It was always like I was always very anti BDSM and also anti like pornography and like sex work or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Good night, Pearl. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's been over 2 hours.
I know. How are you doing for time? Because I'm fine, but I don't want to. I know it's much later there.
Yeah, I'm all right. It's like 10:30 here.
Jeez. Well, do you want to just go another 15 and make it 2.5 hours?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm good. Yeah, I think a lot of us have experienced this, being labeled anti-feminist in college for being anti-porn, prostitution, hookup culture, etc.
Yeah, like back in the day when I used to participate in those blogs, I never talked about being super squicked out by the whole BDSM and porn and prostitution and stuff. Yeah. And with a hookup culture is interesting because I always figured that there was something wrong with me.
Right.
I wasn't a fan of the whole thing, but there was nothing in the zeitgeist that, besides like religious objections, that you could use, like, because the lib femme talking point was like, well, what's wrong with women having sex?
Liberated woman.
Liberated and like you should just go out there and get what you want and it's fine, but like,
yeah, and what women want is like a dude who's going to be nice to them.
But and the thing is that hookup culture just enables men to be like even way worse than.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's entirely for men.
Like I refer to Tinder uncharitably as like Uber pussy, because that's basically how they treat it, like that. Like they're getting a service, they want you to come over, they want to just get off and they want you to go, and that's it. Yeah, life sucks. Like I've never been religious in my entire life, and I'm not religious, and it never sat right with me. Like I tried to be cool with it. Like I had friends who participated in the hookup culture thing. It was never my bag, right? I've always been kind of like introverted and awkward of a type of person, right? So I wasn't like the charismatic one lighting up the room anyway. But I had friends that did, and I tried to listen to their stories, but to me, it always just sounded like they were getting dogged out by dudes, and they were trying to convince themselves that it was a good time, or they loved their situationship, or, he's a really nice guy. Yeah, we have a lot of fun together. And then they'd describe like really disrespectful things that he would do and say, and be like, oh, why are you still seeing this guy? Like, ugh.
Right. Oh, it's so sad.
I know.
It's so sad.
Really bad.
Yeah, and then when you talk about it, people will say like, "Oh, you're slut shaming," and it's like, no, like women deserve better.
It's not shaming her. I shame him. I shame the men.
Yeah,
because they're the ones that use it as an excuse to like basically treat women like sex objects, even more so than they already do.
Yeah.
Expired milk, not wanting to have sex with randos being equated to having low self-esteem. But the really illuminating thing for me was that after some time, my friends, it was very clear to me that it was destroying their self-esteem.
Yes.
Like the hookups, the situationships, like the lukewarm on again, off again boyfriends
Right.
that would only hit them up when they wanted, you know, some nookie or whatever. Like
Right. How can
that.
you like have any faith or any like esteem in yourself when like you're not getting any genuine actual validation? You're only being used for a sexual gain. Like you're not being respected. You're not having
No.
engaging discussion with a person who cares about you.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not seeing you as like a cool person to get to know and to be excited about. You're just like a means to an end.
yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. Irradiated woman. One of my guilty pleasures is I like to read Reddit and I like to
Me
read the
too.
dumpster fire. Yeah, like the dumpster fire relationships.
Yes.
That's so like indicative of the type of post.
Am I overreacting to?
Oh, I love Am I
Me
Overreacting?
too.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, girl, you're way
No.
underreacting.
Right. Yeah.
Oy.
It's the skid marks. Oh, yeah, we talked about skid marks last stream.
Yes.
I'd just rather not think about it.
Honestly.
I don't want to think about how many men are walking around with poopy pants.
Me neither.
I'd like to be in blissful ignorance, please.
Yeah, that would be nice. Let's see. It still throws me that women I know are marrying dudes, but still come to me or other lady friends saying we understand her better than her husband does. Wow. Right, because like husbands don't understand you. They don't even try to.
Right. Right.
Oy.
I remember a few years ago having a conversation with a woman on Reddit, and we were talking about like the subtle ways in which dads don't treat their daughters as fully human.
Yeah.
And she said something like I was always interested in talking with my dad and what made him tick and knowing him, but it was clear from our conversations that he had no interest in what made me tick and like how I thought or anything like that. And I think a lot of girls grow up with that kind of like low level drumbeat of like, yeah, he's your dad and he'll be your dad and whatever, but he's not really interested in you as a human, like as a person.
Yeah, that actually is like definitely my experience.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't know shit about me
Mm-mm.
or my life, and it's not because I haven't tried.
Right. Yeah.
He just like it's in one ear out the other. He doesn't.
Right.
It's not important enough for him to like remember or pay attention to.
Right. Same.
Definitely been my experience.
Yep. Me too. And I think that's really every girl's first lesson in how men don't see women as full humans.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And it's so subtle most of the time. It just, yeah. I mean, for some people, I'm sure it's over. Like abusive dads and shitty dads exist, but like if he's otherwise, he'll talk to you. Like you get the sense when you're talking to him that he's not digging deep into you. He's not really motivated.
No.
Really like getting into your brain and like really knowing you.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
Fax machine, exactly. Like your profile picture always makes me laugh.
Yeah, me too. It's good.
I love it. Yeah, that's where women learn. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, well, the mom thing is that's a little bit of a different wound, but yeah, it's like dads are really your first lesson into like how men see women, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. It sucks. And then it also sucks too, like when you have had this experience or whatever, like the whole concept of daddy issues. And it's like a woman is like ostracized or made fun of or looked down upon for her daddy issues, when it's like, she didn't do anything wrong. Her dad mistreated her.
Right.
Like,
yeah, like why is it her fault?
yes.
Like one of my core memories is I remember being 13 and my dad was at the kitchen table reading a newspaper, and I sat down and I tried to have a conversation with him about like my day and how, like, I don't know what was going on at that time. I was trying to tell him like a story, and he literally ignored me. And
I have been in that position so many times. Yes, I completely
yeah,
exactly what you mean.
not even like a but like
Right.
nothing. And I'd be like, Dad, are you listening? And he ignored me.
Yeah.
And so he ignored me until I stood up and walked away.
Yep.
And
I
it's like,
totally relate.
how do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Freaking sociopathic. Like, what the hell were you thinking? Just ignore her until she goes away.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, don't worry. Living Lux, it's okay. Like, I'm not upset about that. It happened a
Yeah.
long time ago. Like, it just is what it is. It's fine.
I have had like periods in my life where like, oh, this is so cringe. But like I've had times in my life where I'm like, why doesn't my dad care? Like, I just want my dad to like me.
Yes.
And it's like, but now I'm 36 and I've been to therapy and like
Yeah.
men are just whatever. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely had years in my younger woman and teenager life where I was just like obsessed with getting my dad to like me. And
Yeah, me too. Yep. I know, but I guess I've just accepted the limitations of that. I mean, we have it's a fine relationship, you know.
yeah,
I just called him the other day for Thanksgiving. You know, he
yeah,
tells me the little goings on, what he's doing, where he lives, and you know, I'll tell him a little bit about my life happenings. But
mm-hmm.
as far as it like deeply knowing me and knowing what I like and knowing what makes me tick, it's never been of interest to him.
Yeah, totally. I
Even
completely
though I
relate.
could probably write an essay psychoanalyzing the man and knowing his motivations and like what makes him
Same.
tick. Right. But
Same.
like, right. But just like you, like I'm 45 now, like all this stuff is just ancient history. I've come to terms with a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah.
like I talk about it, but you know, like I appreciate the empathy in the chat too, but like it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not just being like, it's fine, I promise. I'm
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
okay.
I'm
It's
past that
fine.
now.
It's just yeah. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
so old now that it's like I got my own stuff to deal with. Like, eh.
Yeah.
Also my parents are flawed and they're people, so okay.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's a man, and that's just how men treat women, and even if it's their daughters. And somebody made a comment in the chat too that after they go through puberty, that's when dads get really distant, and that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was I think it was Tapeworm that said that.
Yeah. I hear you, Lily. I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you're little, it's easy, but then, you know, once I hit puberty, it was like he was just not interested in anything having to do with me at all. Yep.
Yeah. Aw.
I
Nice
know.
for nice
Everybody's got.
guys. They all
No.
feel the same way. Yep.
Yeah. I know.
Ooh, they either get distant. Hello, rat dog, by the way. They either get distant or the behavior becomes odd, like how I mentioned on another video about how sometimes these overprotective fathers sound or act creepily similar to jealous boyfriends. Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah.
So true.
One good thing I can say about my dad is he never had that creepy, jealous boyfriend, overprotective father thing at all. In fact, he valued independence a lot. So,
Yeah.
like, there was none of that, like, I'm going to get my shotgun. You're not going to take
Yeah.
my daughter's virginity. Like, I don't even know what I would do if that had been a part of my teenage, like, ugh, just the thought of it just grosses me totally out.
Yeah, I also didn't really have that experience either. But also, like, I came out as gay when I was 15. So, like,
Ooh,
that was 21 years ago. So
yeah.
there wasn't the opportunity for that, I suppose.
So there were
But
no boys to threaten
right.
with a shotgun.
But with my sister, like my sister is male attracted. Um he our dad didn't have any of that really with her either. But she also, you know, she dated nice boys, so that helped
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, like yeah. I wasn't a trouble, like I didn't give my parents any reason to like
Yeah, same.
really worry. I was kind of a nerdy shut-in who was a kind of a goody two, not always a goody two shoes, but
Yeah,
for the
I'm
most part.
very similar. Yeah,
Yeah,
same. But yeah, in that regard, also though, my parents also gave me a lot of freedom
me
because I
too.
didn't give them a reason not to. Like I
Same.
didn't have a curfew, but like I came home at what they would consider to be a reasonable hour. I got grades. I didn't get into
Yep.
trouble. So I, on one hand, I am very grateful for that because yeah, they gave me a lot of trust and a lot of freedom, and I never gave them a reason to like doubt that. So I
Yes.
was allowed to be quite independent.
Yeah, I feel like my dad especially, not my mom less so, but my parents were more like, all right, time to get in. Okay, independence. Yes, yes, get your license. Yes, get a job. Yes, go have a
Get out
life.
of the house for a while.
Right. Why are you, it's Saturday. Why are you hanging out of the house? Go out. Go out and do something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine were like that as well.
Yeah. And now I'm like independent to a fault because that's how I was raised. So,
Yeah, same.
yep. Hmm.
Same. Yeah,
Hmm.
independent to a fault. Yeah, that's like
Yes.
always been like sometimes like in my work like performance reviews or whatever,
Mm.
sometimes the feedback has been like you're
Ye-
really independent. Like it's okay to ask for
yes.
or
Yep.
to
You
yeah.
need to learn to accept help from others.
Like
Yeah,
oh,
but I
that's
don't
okay.
wanna. I don't
Yeah,
wanna.
I'll take on another task. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I'm exactly the same way.
Yeah.
I don't like having to need people. It's
Yes,
I
I'm
don't
the
know.
same. Like, no, it's fine. I will like I would never like I just I could not ask people for things. Like I
Yeah.
often see on I'm in like my neighborhood's Facebook group and there's like posts often like, "Hey, could anybody help me move a whatever or could anyone with a truck blah blah blah." And I'm like
Oh God.
I could never, I would like, and I understand people need help with things, but for me, I will die before I won't complete something on my own. And
Same.
perhaps that is like independent to a fault because, yeah, like we all could use some help sometime, but oh, I
Yes.
could not.
Yes. I've tried to be a little bit more vulnerable, like
Mhm.
within the past 5 years or so, but I still like to do things on my own. Like, nope, I got it. I'll do it. Nope. But
Yeah.
if somebody else needs help though, I never like I'm always willing to help them. Like I'm never
Yeah.
sitting there going like, how come you can't do that yourself?
Yeah.
You can be
Same.
independent. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get that thing for you. Yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
that thing for you.
I'm the
Oh,
same. I'm the same.
you don't feel well, you need help, you're in dire straits. All right, I'll be there. Like I
Yeah.
never I never turn that judgment on anyone else. Oh,
Yes,
are
I am.
I'm the oldest.
Yes, me too.
Yes.
The oldest child, the oldest
Yep.
daughter. Exactly. We're super parentified, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Mhm. Yes, I am. You
Yep.
clocked me.
I mean, my brother's only 2 years younger than me, so it's not like a big gap, but like
Uh,
I still was always like responsible for him, like to set a good example.
yeah.
Yeah.
I am like I'm basically 7 years older than my sister. It's like 6 years and 10
Oh,
months or something. So, yeah, I'm basically 7 years older than her and I was very parentified um right away.
oh
Um
yeah. Like you remember her birth,
oh
I'm sure.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
when I found out my mom was pregnant. Like I remember her birth.
Mm.
Yeah, I was very parentified right away in helping to care
Yep.
for her. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, see it like I don't
And
remember
my parents too.
brother.
Like I was parentified. I was a parent to my sister and my parents.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I have to say less so than you because my sibling wasn't as young, but after the divorce, we were basically on our own. And I was like in charge before we got picked up, like after school and stuff like that. So I was like responsible
same.
for my brother and like responsible for doing the chores and like making sure that everything was okay and the dog was taken out and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Cool therapy session.
I know. It's been a good one.
I'm
But
sorry everybody has like shitty dads though.
I know.
Like
Yeah.
really
That's
though.
a unifying woman experience.
It really is.
Yeah, okay. So let's kind of wrap up. I think we're
Yeah.
over 2.5 hours. It's hella late Eastern Standard Time. So thanks for joining me, Existential Gamer. Love having you.
I love
And
being here.
yeah, it's the best. And to the chat, as always, just adore all of y'all. And again, tonight there was quite a few newer names that I didn't recognize that seem to be first timers. So thank you for coming. And to all of the names we know and love, thank you for coming. Let's see. Today's Tuesday. Yeah, so definitely I'm really trying to be super consistent about Tuesday streaming at this time. And then I'm going to try and do like either a Friday or a Saturday stream probably as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple things. I'm going to put a link in the description box to a Discord server if anyone is interested in joining. It's Rad Sapphics. You do not have to be a lesbian to join. You just have to be either a radical feminist or a radical leaning kind of feminist. Anyone is welcome to join. So I'll put that link in the description box for y'all. I'll put Existential Gamers channel in the description box. So once this is over, you can just refresh and you can get the links to those things. As well, since you're refreshing anyway, maybe you could leave us a comment. That would be nice. We'd love to read comments.
Yes.
So yeah. So yes, another stream probably on Friday or actually maybe Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then next Tuesday as well. So we'll be consistent. And we'll see you again next time. And thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great evening.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.